The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
That sounds like some futuristic script from a Terminator movie.
AI is everywhere.
Artificial intelligence has become so advanced, it has now surpassed human performance on several basic tasks.
This guy writes to me, he says, I think I wrote a hit song with AI.
Probably the biggest positive transformation that education has ever seen.
We're going to get AI to teach us some drum lessons.
The primitive forms of artificial intelligence we already have proved very useful.
AI at this point is like the person who didn't read the entire book but still filed the book report.
Open source AI called ChatGPT.
Oh, drum fills. Those are the fills that you play on the drum set.
We live in a world that's using AI to do a lot of things. So I wondered if I could use it to search the internet for the 10 most common questions about conga drumming. And the results were about what I expected, because many of them are the same questions that viewers and students have been asking me for years. So I'll share the results from ChatGPT and some of my commentary on each question.
How do I tune my conga drums?
Excuse me. Stop. What happened, Giovanni? Let's tune. Oh, no, but that's okay. No. If not, I go. I need to leave.
Most of the time, my tuning comes from relative intervals, and I sort of figure out what sounds good for the song. If something sounds a little weird or it's just not projecting properly, I might adjust it a little bit, but I don't go over to the keyboard and figure out what those notes are. But I do have a process, so let's get into it.
Tap the head near each lug and listen for the difference. 2. Tighten the rods near the lower sounding pitches. And 3. Try to achieve the same pitch near each rod.
I've never learned conga tuning from any of my 3 conga teachers. I never asked and they never brought it up. The most any teacher ever said was something like, hey, you should crank up that conga. I always just followed the perfect 4th relationship from low to high drum, from tuba to conga. If I'm using 3 drums, it depends on the song, but most of the time I use la, re, mi. Giovanni recommends C sharp and G sharp for 2 congas, which I think is solid advice. I typically tune for the best tone from the drum and make adjustments if it clashes or gets too lost in the mix of a particular song. But the C sharp, G sharp tuning works for a lot of situations.
What is the proper playing technique for congas?
The proper way to play conga drums is the best way your teacher expects you to play. That's the short answer, and a very important one that needs to be made. I learned from teachers that passed on the technique that they learned from their teachers, and although there are differences from one teacher to another, conga drumming was originally passed on through families and neighborhoods, and not everyone played the same way, but you showed respect to your teachers at all times. The basic strokes include heel, toe, open tone, slap, mute tone, closed slap, touch, bass. Some drummers think about conga drumming in terms of the 8 strokes that I just mentioned. Others might teach 5. What's more important than how many strokes you can differentiate is the motion you use to produce the sound you want to hear. For example, the motion for a heel stroke is a relaxed drop stroke. It's not a push, it's a drop. The toe stroke is an acceleration motion, which is how you begin to develop power. So although these sounds, the heel and toe strokes, might not be as exciting to learn as an open tone or a slap, but they're essential to developing proper conga technique, and it's going to help you with all of your sounds and all of your motions. The wrist motion of the toe stroke is also how the tones and slaps are played. When you compare the tones and slaps, the main difference is whether you keep your fingers straight or relaxed. The third motion related to the technique is whether or not you leave your fingers on the drum after the stroke. When you play an open tone or an open slap, your fingers stay off the drum before relaxing them. When you play a muff or a mute tone or a closed slap, your fingers stay on the drum after the stroke.
What are the basic conga drumming patterns for beginners?
It's hard to answer this question perfectly for every beginner conga drummer because the response depends on your goals. So I'm going to assume that beginners want a variety of patterns to practice, rhythms that work for a lot of different musical situations. I recommend these 5 patterns. I'll put a link in the cards to a video that dives a little deeper into these patterns. But what if you're a drummer who wants to accompany acoustic guitar or vocals around the campfire or at a coffee shop gig, and you want to play conga patterns that are more like the kind of beat that you would play on a drum set? Adapt the drum set sounds to the conga drum. You can use the open tones in place of the kick drum and the slap like the snare drum sound. For example, if it's a boom whack beat, play open tone on beats 1 and 3, and beats 2 and 4, play the slaps for the snare drum. If you're feeling like some of the inner beats are missing and you want to add some touches for feel, it helps me find the pocket and settle into the groove.
How do I care for and maintain my conga drums?
Drum care, including cleaning, tuning, transport, storage, is a common concern for conga drummers. Like most musical instruments, conga drums are comfortable when you are comfortable. Now, since what we all believe to be comfortable can vary from one person to another, I'll clarify. Wet conditions are typically bad for wood shells and drum heads. Water can make the wood swell, and too much moisture makes it difficult to get the best tone from a real skin. 2, extreme dry conditions, however, can also be bad for heads made of real hides because they can dry out and tear under the tension. So the theme is extremes. Avoid extreme temperatures or humidity. Some of the other conga drum care tips include detune your drums, don't treat them like furniture, check and maintain the hardware, and play them. A lot of issues develop slowly, and you'll notice something if you're playing them often. I made a video that dives deeper into conga drum care issues, so I'll link it in the cards.
What are the differences between different types of conga drums?
This question is a bit too broad to know exactly what the searcher is wanting to know, so I'll address the material, size, cost, and quality differences. The biggest differences would be with regard to the drum materials and sizes. The short answer is that drums come with either wood shells or fiberglass shells. Drum heads are made from either real animal hide, typically from a steer, or from synthetic materials, which are less susceptible to the changes in environment like humidity. The drum sizes come in both standard and odd sizes. Standard sizes are 11-inch for a quinto, 11 3/4 for a conga, and 12.5 for tumba. Some of the odd sizes would be for the beginner sets that might come with a 10-inch or 11-inch drums. Now, If you're more concerned about the price differences between one model and another, more expensive conga drums are made from better wood, and the hardware is often stronger and more durable. If you lift a $400 drum and then lift a $200 drum, you can feel the difference. However, this doesn't mean that more expensive drums will sound better than cheaper ones. The quality of the sounds is mostly the drumhead tuning and how it is played. Okay, it's also the materials. Speaking of which, some drummers might be more curious about comparing the sounds that fiberglass drums make to wood drums, or real skins versus synthetic. The other possible reason someone might search this question might be that they don't know which drum sizes are best for their level of playing or the sounds they're trying to achieve. If these are your questions, I think the best way to decide is to go to the music stores and try different drums. There's no substitute for putting hands to the drums, especially when you might be making a significant investment. Also, you can check out this article on rhythmnotes.net. It's a complete guide to buying conga drums, including links to online music stores. And if you use my links, I get a percentage of the sale, which goes a long way toward supporting my ability to make videos and provide these resources.
Can I use congas in different genres of music?
Conga drums originated from Afro-Cubans adapting African drums to Cuban popular music, but it didn't stop there. Cuban music spread all over the Caribbean to places like Puerto Rico, and bands and immigrants brought congas to the United States, where they further adapted those instruments to R&B, funk, and rock and roll, among other genres. It is not only acceptable, but encouraged to use conga drums in different genres of music. I do, however, think that it's important to remember to be reverent with regard to the Afro-Cuban instruments and music tradition, because people suffered and in too many cases died for the culture that brought us conga drums. My teacher made it a priority for his students to always remember this tough reality of Afro-Caribbean culture, and I feel it's very important to acknowledge this point of view.
What accessories do I need for conga drumming?
Technically, beyond the drums and a wrench for tuning and something to condition the heads, you don't really need anything else. However, cases and stands are really helpful. The cases are a necessity if you're transporting your drums, often to rehearsals or performances, and the stands are nice if you want to play your conga drums while standing. Some conga drummers like to sit, but still use baskets like the ones I use in the studio. The benefit of the basket is simply to get the drums off the floor, with some stability for when you need to play other instruments like shakers, or if you need to transition to another drum like bongo or timbales. If you're looking for more sounds to add to your setup, I really like the native tongue percussion rim block, rim bell, rim chick. Those accessories are invaluable to players that need those sounds in just more than just the conga drums themselves.
How can I improve my conga drumming speed and accuracy?
Warm-ups and exercises are not the things that call most of us to play conga drums. But they are essential for developing strength and speed. Strength on the instrument starts with building the motions and muscles with accuracy, and the accuracy comes from the hand placement and knowing when to relax your hand, wrist, and arm, and when to accelerate them. Once you have strong sounds, you'll have strong hands, and it's time to develop speed. Which comes from playing exercises faster and faster each practice session without hurting yourself. One of the things that I always recommend is set target tempos and then feel yourself getting stronger and stronger on those target tempos, okay, using a metronome, of course. And one thing you can do is the gradual increase in speed and play it at that faster tempo and then gradually decrease the speed. So it's a slow, fast, slow approach to developing speed and strength in ways that don't or are less likely to hurt your hands or your arms, your muscles. But if you ever have a problem and feel pain or major discomfort, stop. Stop what you're doing, relax, reset yourself, and try again, perhaps at a slower tempo.
Are there online resources or tutorials for learning conga drumming?
YouTube and Instagram are my two favorite platforms for finding conga drumming lessons. So here at Rhythm Notes, you'll find lots of lessons on technique, exercises, patterns, and other topics. Personally, I like my lessons, otherwise I wouldn't be sharing them with you. But I also look for other videos to find videos for inspiration and to solve specific issues I'm working on.
What are some famous conga drummers and their signature styles?
I'd have to spend like a whole video answering this question, but you know, some famous drummers that I've always looked at and looked up to. I always loved just a very simple and strong approach of drummers like Mongo Santamaria and Poncho Sanchez. But on the other hand, I've also really appreciated the virtuosic technique of people like Changuito, Giovanni, Richie Flores, Elil Lazo, okay, Pedrito. I mean, these players are amazing at what they do, and I'll continue to look at what they're doing and what they've done to improve my own playing forever. Now, other players like Candido. Candido's a very different player, and I get very excited about different approaches the more I learn their story. I first did not recognize some of the techniques that Candido is using on the conga drums, but it made a lot of sense once that I learned that he's a bongocero, and he was also a bass player. So you start to listen to how he's developing melodies and different lines on three congas, and it makes a lot more sense, you know, his approach when you think about the musician that he is and his experience and what he brings to the conga drums. So you know, I could talk about this one on and on and on, but really you have to just go out there and check out some of these drummers and listen to them and figure out what you like and how you might want to emulate that and what techniques you need to develop to sound like that, you know, and really to put it all together and develop your own sense of mastery on the instrument and who you want to be as a performer when you play rhythms that you come up with or when you perform with a band. Whether it be, you know, as a hobby or professionally. You know, your own personal style comes from learning from these great players. So let us know in the comments below who your favorite conga drummers are. And if you like this video, check out this one suggested to you by YouTube. And if you want more from Rhythm Notes, click this link right here. It takes you to an area where you can get on our newsletter and also gain more access to the full lesson PDF library on Patreon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.